Hello everyone, my name is Stanley St. Rose, and today we're going to be talking about Negocios, written by Junot Diaz. This is the last story in the Drowned Story collection. I've done a summary of all of the short stories that appear within the Drowned Story collection. And this one is the longest one. It really gives us a full picture of Poppy, the father figure that we see in a lot of short story within the Drowned Story collection. And it really allows us to understand the family of Poppy and everything that he went through from coming from the Dominican Republic and becoming a United States citizen, and all things that he just basically had to go through. So the narrator of this short story is an adult Junior, and we know that Junior is Poppy's son, and you know, if you've read the other short stories, you'll get a clear picture of who Junior is. But just for the purposes of this video, just know that Junior is Poppy's son, and this is coming from his adult perspective of his father's life. And it kind of seemed that Junior he's always been interested in his father's life and what his father had to go through, and you know, why his father was absent for a part of his childhood. So we learn pretty much a lot about Poppy, a lot about Junior's father, and pretty much his father back in the Dominican Republic. We learned that he cheated on Junior's mother. We learned that he got a visa to the United States, and it's Junior's mother's father who gave him the money, or money to come to the United States and kind of like have a start. It's all about, for Poppy and his family and his children, it's all about finding a way to get the family out of poverty, finding a way to build a future for the family. So in the story, we see what happens to Poppy when he leaves the Dominican Republic, and we know of his absence from the other short stories within the Drowned Story collection. So really, this last story really brings everything into perspective. We see Poppy come into the United States. We see him learn how to speak English. We see him get cheated out of his own money. And pretty much within the short story, we learned that he was trying to become a U.S. citizen. And the way he does this is he marries a woman by the name of Nilda. In the short story, he gets married to her. He has a child by the name of Raymond, if I'm pronouncing that right, with her. And they have this little family together. And it doesn't seem like they were in love at any point. But, you know, Poppy was always thinking about his citizenship and you know, becoming American and, you know, climbing out of poverty. I mean, some of the scenes that we see within the short story in terms of poverty are very gruesome, where when he first comes to the United States, his apartment, or he's like sharing an apartment for a lot of other men. He has to work hard, 19, 20-hour days, meaning pretty much, I guess, 4 hours to sleep and then right back at it. And he's living in horrible conditions. He's working hard labor jobs, hard back-breaking jobs. He's trying to make ends meet. He's sending his money back to the Dominican Republic to help out his family, to help out his children. And he's getting swindled. You know, there's a lot of different people that are telling him, we can help you with this, we can help you with this, we can help you build a business, we can help you grab success. And a lot of these people are just trying to cheat him out of his money. For instance, there's a woman that he gets introduced to that was going to marry him, and they were going to, you know, pretty much just for citizenship. And basically, it ends up badly, and the woman just takes his money. But again, he meets this woman by the name of Nilda, and that's what happens. This is exactly what happens within the short story. You know, he goes he finds jobs here and there, jobs working in restaurants, job working in offices, job working in factories, and you know, life was never easy for him. Eventually, he does go back to the Dominican Republic and brings his family from the Dominican Republic to the United States. And it really becomes confusing and in a huge mess, because he had this marriage with Nilda, and he has this marriage with Junior's mother. None of them were really ended, and it's this huge mess. I mean, he even names his firstborn son with Nilda, Raymond, and Junior, his true name is also Raymond. Again, if I'm pronouncing that right. And his life gets confusing. He calls his children different names. He keeps like throughout his entire life he keeps cheating on the women he's with other women. So there's a lot going on in Poppy's life in terms of marriages, in terms of cheating, in terms of conquests, in terms of success, in terms of power, and his life really just becomes a mess. And his friends even warned him that if he didn't get his life on track, that his life would become a mess, and it does become a mess because by the end of his journey, he ends up becoming with another woman. Starting another family with another woman in Florida. So, he hurt Nilda, he hurt his first wife, and his children are all over the place. And, there's no single one way that this man could look at his life and see how much of a mess it is in terms of his children's being spread out, his different wives. And I mean, you can also, it doesn't, his hard life is not an excuse for his choices and all the bad things that he did in terms of his marriages, but at the same time you can see that this man is literally at a war with his morals, a war with his dreams, a war with his poverty, a war with his existence, because I mean he's trying to climb out of poverty, but at the same time he's making a lot of very controversial choices and a lot of things that could end them in hot water. And his children are not really, they pretty much never have a father figure that was there with them that could help them develop and help them become better human beings. Because you can see Junior throughout his entire life, he always had these questions about his father and about his childhood, and he even meets Nilda later in his life to just kind of like get a closer understanding of who his father was and what his father was about. And both women, both Junior's mother and Nilda, they're both deeply hurt by the marriages and the breakups because they truly cared for Poppy and their relationships. So I mean, this short story, there's so many layers to it. We can look at it in different places, but in terms of summary, in terms of what happens within it, it's this account of what happens to Poppy after he leaves the Dominican Republic. He was cheating on Junior's mother in the Dominican Republic. He leaves, he comes to the United States. He cheats again. He actually gets married to Nilda, has another kid, has another family, works hard, backbreaking jobs. Obtains citizenship, brings his family from the Dominican Republic to the United States, then pretty much leaves that family too and ends up with another woman in Florida. And it pretty much ends up in a mess in terms of relationships, wives, progress, success, and I mean, even Junior says he doesn't completely understand his father and his choices and, his mindset and his decision making. But I mean, if we're reading this, we can judge him. We can say where you would do differently, but we can never look into a person's mind and truly understand all the choices that they make and, how to, do differently because, I mean, he had a lot of tough choices to make in his life, and he tried to swim through them and make good choices as much as he can. But there's no really one way to define Poppy and his life choices and how his life end up. Some of it's sad. I mean, you praise him because he did right by his family. He remembered his family in the Dominican Republic, but at the same time, you can't praise him for hurting Nilda and for having this fake marriage, this fake love for her, and then also not really even going back to his actual wife, but going to some other woman in Florida. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. In terms of deeper meaning, in terms of analysis, this work, I mean, there's so much to look at. I mean, it's the impact of the choices that it has on the family. I mean, we see in this short story Junior's mom writing these vicious letters and telling him how he's a horrible human for abandoning his family. We see Poppy abusing Nilda and hitting her. And Nilda, she has a very tough background because she was in an abusive relationship before being with Poppy. Her ex-husband used to beat her, so there's a scene where Poppy ends up hitting her in Negocios. So we see this domestic violence, we see this struggle for prosperity, we see the impact it has on the children, because the children are all suffering. None of them really truly get a father. It's this impact on the women, this impact on the marriages, and just, I mean, the effect of poverty on these types of families, the effect of poverty in the Dominican Republic, and what it forces people to do can be quite gruesome. And even though all of them are financially, they're in a better place in life. They're in America. They're working. They can plan for their futures. They do gain the finances, but at the same time, they obtain or they receive a lot of emotional baggage and a lot of things to deal with from the emotional side of things. But yeah, that's Negocios to me. That's what happens in it. That's just something to get your mind open on what the short story is about and what happens within it and the characters. Very significant story. I mean, we could go on for days about the different layers of the story and Poppy's thinking. Another thing I'll add is that he thought that once he got his family from the Dominican Republic to the United States, that would be his golden ticket family and he could finally be happy. But I think Poppy never really reaches a place where he's completely and utterly happy in life. Because he's always cheating on the women that he gets, and he's always seeking a different woman to be with. So there's this pursuit after satisfaction, and maybe there's this unfulfilled happiness that he's looking for, and he's never really he hasn't really found it. At least that's how I see the story. That's how I see the character. That's how I see it from my perspective. But yeah, that's the short story. That's the analysis. Those are my perspectives. That's my ideas on it. Please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and or comment. And I'll see you guys in the next video.